Oh.
Hello.
I mean, typical, yeah, we have a giggle right at the very beginning. This was just getting ready for the podcast this morning. So if you're not listening, if you're not listening, that doesn't work, does it? Oh my God.
You okay, hon?
Is it really Friday the 13th? Because I've got to tell you, today, my brain is just twitching.
Yeah,
There's
we're recording this on
something.
Friday the 13th, just so you're aware.
So if it sounds totally mixed up and
Probsies.
and from me, particularly today, though, I'm like, not sure what's going on. I was having a conversation last night with somebody in Unlocking. We were talking about, because this person just suddenly went, is it just me? Or is the world just feeling a bit like fuzzy and all like messy? And I was like, oh, well, yeah, that on a major scale, and it's not just you. Yeah, exactly. It's not just you. There's just a lot. My brain, I've just put a story on Instagram, like relentless rain. 2 Ubers cancelled on me. I definitely think it's because the road's closed near us, and they're having more trouble getting into the city. But yeah, that. I've never had that happen to be able to get it down here. And then just overheard a conversation that I couldn't avoid overhearing.
Yeah, we weren't eavesdropping.
Yeah, we weren't eavesdropping. Just so you know, we weren't. But couldn't avoid it. Couldn't avoid it, and also without putting my fingers in my ears and going la 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 la.
Someone was
just
being
wasn't great.
unkind.
Yeah, really.
And judgmental.
Just had such a few moments there with things that were said, and I was like, I don't want to listen to this.
No,
and also, I do need to, because actually, that it still is that. This
we
is
weren't
what
in a
matters.
position where we could call them out.
No, it was not. That was not.
Wasn't a safe thing
actually,
for us to do.
But this is the whole thing about something, and we were chatting about last night actually, which was that I noticed the emotion that I felt my anger. Like I saw it, like it just came, and I saw it, and I looked at it, and it's like, I love the saying, I shared it last night, anger is meant to be acted on, not acted out. Acted
I was trying to
on,
remember
not
that
acted
today,
out.
because I wanted to say that to someone on Threads, because there's quite a lot of people angry about me for a post that I've posted. But I don't disagree with my post.
No.
It was the one about not shaming people for doing the behaviours we want them to do.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are mad because they're like, yeah, but if... And for some reason it's become about MAGA, which I didn't post it at all with MAGA in mind.
It didn't?
But
none of that?
No, I didn't at all. But a lot of people are like, they voted for this and they deserve to be shamed. And I'm like, oh, I get the anger. I get it. And I also know that sitting in front of someone who voted for the orange president, I probably would react like that. I'm not very good sometimes at keeping my anger in check and seeing other sides. I know that. And I know that logistically, if somebody's, since everything's happened, gone, whoa, hang on, I've changed my mind, I can't support this anymore. Like, yes, it's shit it took them this long. Yes, it hurts. Yes, there's accountability still to be taken for behaviour. And if someone else is thinking about changing stance and they see me going, well, what's the fucking point? You're a dickhead. Blah, 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 blah. They're not going to do it now, are they? So it's like, we've got to remember the goal. And it, the story was just about my big brother, and he slept a lot when we were kids. And my dad used to be like, oh, nice to see you, when he came downstairs early. But he was shaming him for doing the behaviour that we wanted to see. So why would he continue doing it? That was the post. And it was actually about the ChatGPT thing. I'm not against boycotting it at all. I just think shaming people for being sad about losing it and stuff is just, I don't know. I just don't think it's useful. I don't think change happens when we shame people. Lasting change doesn't come from shaming people into it.
Yeah, because that's where people go underground. You don't want to talk about it. You hide. That's vulnerability.
Or you rebel.
Yeah.
Because that's what I do.
Yeah.
Like, if you come at me with that, my immediate response is fuck you.
Attack you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I hate that. I don't like that about myself. And also, you've invited me by being like that. So it's just a really tricky... Anyway, the point is that I really wanted your sentence, anger is meant to be acted on, not acted out.
Yeah.
Because what I kept having to say was, at no point in my post have I dismissed anger. Anger is valid. And boundaries are important, but also boundaries don't include shaming the other person's behaviour. Boundaries are about what you're doing. If I'm setting my boundary, if my boundary is I don't know, let's say that you keep poking me in the head. My boundary isn't you're a dick for poking me in the head. My boundary is if you keep poking me in the head, I'm going to have to leave. And it's funny because people are probably sat there thinking, what a stupid example. I had to say those actual physical words to my toddler in the last 24 hours. So actually I had to exert that boundary. And I was like, if you keep hitting me in the head, I'm going to have to leave. Hit me in the head. So I walked off. And I didn't tell him he was a little prick. Because that wouldn't have been useful for my little 4-year-old, would it?
Or shouted at him, you need to stop doing it.
Yeah, I didn't do that either. I just told him what my behaviour was going to be as a result of him continuing it.
Yeah.
And it's that, isn't it? That's what boundaries.
Yeah, this is not okay for me. And that's what your anger shows you. That was a big discussion last night as well.
It's a really, really good warning sign. I guess it's the difference between, because obviously the hot plate is always what I think of when it comes to emotion. Like, you know, if you put your hand on the hot plate, it's going to hurt. And it's important it hurts because I need to take my hand off. And that's what anger is, isn't it? It's like something happened, my boundaries have been broken, my values have been dismissed or whatever it is that's caused it. But staying in the anger bit is just keeping my hand on it. And it's like I need to now take my anger and choose, do I do an action to like move it? Do I like what's next? But staying in the you're such a dick is just keeping it on there. I think it's
but
really
that's acting
hard,
out.
Isn't it?
That's acting out. So it's
that's
and it's yes because no one's
really
taught.
hard.
This is not a reason not to do it because it's that whole bit about, you know, all of our experiences, like, and the way that we behave. When you begin to realise that's where the responsibility lies, it's like, you know what, yes, this happened and I choose to do this. So it's the practice around giving yourself space to observe what goes on, because actually that's the biggie, rather than act out what you're experiencing. Understand it, observe it, and that takes time. And that I lost my temper the other day.
The anger.
No, of course it doesn't.
Like, the anger is still valid and important, and there are people who will struggle more with that. Like, I'm thinking about people who've been oppressed for years years and years, and that is not going to be something you can be the bigger person and just simply get over. No. And that is not at all what we're saying.
But because act on it might be that you got to raise your voice and say something loud and do something about it.
Go and protest. Yeah, go and stand up for what you believe in. Say no. I don't like to be touched like that. Yeah. Or don't talk to me like that. Don't minimise my voice like that. Like, it's not saying. There's a bit. I think this is where people get like either you're really angry or you're like, what's the word for like a little demure? I feel like it's like you're one or the other. You're either really aggressive or you're demure, and it's like I can be firm and I can be assertive and I can follow the actions that I say I'm going to follow and all of those things without having to stay in this place where I'm shaming other people or making other people feel like shit. Or
I can feel anger and stay respectful. I can be angry.
And it's hard.
And love somebody.
Yes.
Like I not. It's not one or the other. It's not black or white. It's like that's the thing about human beings. They're complex. You know, and actually we don't, because the thing is we don't have control that emotions come up. It's what we do with them that we ultimately practice enough to get enough space around that we do then have a choice of what we do with them.
Yeah.
And it's like but that's why it's complex. That's why it's not straightforward. That's why it's not, you know, because actually it'd be different for different people dependent upon their situations and their circumstances. You know, I know for me that it's like, well, I love this saying as well, that anger is the tool, not the master. That in my head goes, I don't want it to control me. I don't want to feel like I don't get out of it, but I'm going to use it to push me forward in the right direction. It's like what I asked the question last night, what makes you angry? Injustice for me, when people get treated unfairly, you know, for what looks like absolutely no good reason. It incenses me.
Stupid.
Yeah, those whole things. Right. What I've learnt though is that anger shows me what matters to me.
Yeah. It also shows me the wounds I have, because not being seen as clever is something that really affects me.
Yeah.
Like, my intelligence is... I don't care if you call me ugly, but call me intelligent and I'll cry. No, call me unintelligent, I'll cry. I realise that I'm talking about intelligence, losing all of my words, not really showing myself in a great light. It's Friday the 13th. Fuck off.
It's just, I'm a bit like... Maybe take this one with a pinch of salt. maybe.
So yeah, because I'm tired of social media this week because I'm tired, because I'm in this zone where my brain doesn't feel, I feel foggy, I'm mardy, I'm in pain, and I can feel myself getting angry because I'm like, I sometimes feel like people on social media would like an answer or not. It's like, I need to know if you're a bad person or not. I need to know if I like you or not. I need to know, and they need you to say things that are like this or that, or that.
It's very black
and it's
white.
Like, I'm not that human. Like, I'm sorry. I know it might be uncomfortable, and I know that might mean that you don't want to follow me or listen to me. That's okay. Like, you don't. That's your prerogative. That's the whole point. But I'm not gonna turn around and say this is, this is the only. Like, I'm not that person. I'm learning more. Like, I learn more about other people and the experiences of people, and I'm just like, I just don't know if it's black and white like that.
It feels like people are taking sides. It's a lot. It's a lot, and I think there is something in that you've got to be around people and feel that collectiveness.
And there are some things that it's like, because you kind of have to take a side on.
Of course you do.
Like
Exactly. Yeah,
like,
exactly.
You kind of have to.
It's like, knowing what you stand for, knowing what matters and what happens in that way. And it feels polarising.
Yeah, there's just a real nuance, isn't there?
Yeah.
And I feel it is, Cal posted something at Words Hurt Copy. You should follow them because they're great. Little plug there. To listen without ads, just pay $3.99. No, I'm joking. Anyway, Cal posted something about, just how if we want to move forwards, we can't just keep trying to bash the other side down, because we've been bashed for so long. Like, that's the whole point, isn't it? That it's like, you're exhausted and you just want to bash back. But what happens if we keep doing that is that it's like, well, this side will rise up and bash back. Well, then this side will rise up and then bash back. And then it'll just keep going and going.
That's the pendulum swinging from one side to the other, side to the other.
And it's like, can we
And it's like, no.
I was reminded this morning on the way in of the sentence, I don't know if it's from a TV programme or not, but it's like, better never means better for everyone. Better for who? Like, better for someone. And I was like, I'm not sure I agree with that. Like, I feel like, I don't know. I just feel like compromise is such an underrated tool. And there are some things I'm not saying we should compromise on. I'm not saying we should compromise on genocide or anything. Like, that's not where I'm at. But I'm talking about, like, compromise.
There's a space for compromise at the minute.
I just think there's a space where people could come and talk.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Can I talk about something that I've been?
I don't know. Do you agree with me first? Because that's what I want to know first.
Well, that's what I've just said to you.
Okay,
thanks. There's a place for compromise. Of course there is. That's what I said. You didn't hear me. Because I think this is where something I've been looking at this week matters. What you're describing at the minute is a situation where a lot of people don't feel safe. There's a lot of fighting. There's a lot of arguing. There's a lot of information coming at people. People are not able to process it. And we talk about that a lot. But it's just really made me think about something that I was reading. That I have not been able to get out of my mind in terms of thinking about for myself, in terms of thinking about like the bigger picture. And it is the fact that I went back and reread some of Johann Hari's book, Stolen Focus, which was an utter favourite of mine. I 73 pages in, messaged him on Instagram and was absolutely blown away because he messaged me back. And I was like, this is just... It's blowing my mind with this book. And I was reading, and it's particularly, because if you've got it, it's chapter 5 for me that kind of just, I don't know, there was something about it this week that's just really hit me and resonated with me. This whole bit about, I'm talking on Instagram about, not wasting your life. And actually some of that, even telling yourself that is a coping mechanism, that I'm wasting my life. There's a part of it in the way we talk to ourselves to soothe ourselves. Because actually, this is the thing about, we're constantly looking at how we can make ourselves better. And we're just dealing with a situation, a world at the moment that doesn't feel safe for a huge amount of people. And there is so much information that's coming out. I see this for myself, the more I learn about neurodiversity, the more I understand that I've just probably never felt safe for a very long time. And what I mean by that is safe in my body, and that safety in my body, if it's not there, means that I'm more likely to react in a certain way due to what's happening in my body and then what's happening in my brain. So let me go back to the beginning. I was reading about something that Johann Hari had researched about how our brain works and processes information. Right? Simple as that. And the best explanation that I heard about this, so the gentleman that he went and spoke to, was to imagine that your brain's a bit, when it comes to attention, because that's what we need at the minute, we need attention that is focused, but also to be able to make meaning of what's going on around us, to understand how we want to be able to work as humans. And that attention is a bit like having an orchestra in your head. So if you think about an orchestra, have you ever watched an orchestra play? You've got the violins, the violas. You've got, what other instruments? My brain's
the drums,
like,
the triangle,
the drums,
cello,
the triangle.
the flute,
you've got
the
all of that, haven't you? So you've got all of those instruments, and here's the thing: they work as a team, and your brain is a bit like that with attention because it's more than one area that works well. So there's an area called the spotlight, and that would be a bit like, suddenly there's a violin solo. But if you're playing a particular piece of music, and I think he described it as like, Beethoven's one of his symphonies, you need the whole orchestra to make the bigger piece. But you want certain pieces to be able to stand out every now and again. So, spotlight on the violin. We have a spotlight focus. You use your spotlight focus to do tasks. Things like write emails. Exactly what I was watching you doing this morning with utter awe, because as you were doing it, I've never seen anyone type so fast in all of my life. But you were really focused, yeah. And you talk about it. I need to get really focused. You actually talk about hyperfocus a lot.
Hyperfocus, yeah.
So you go in, right? So one of the things that I read is that actually, for a lot of people with neurodiversity, that is what they do. They can do or don't do. Yeah, they struggle to do it. So if you imagine though, if we've got that spotlight on, then you're really focused in that bit. You're not really seeing everything else. But what you need is the other side of it, which is called the default mode network, which is actually the part where when we're bored or we're not doing anything,
all of it's on.
That's the other bit that comes on. And that's the bit that processes everything that you've been taking in and looking at. This is the part that actually helps you prioritize goals, be able to make decisions, make meaning of things that are going on around you, connects the dots. That part of you that actually starts to see things. Right, we're not living in a world that's allowing that at the minute. There's also another part to that, which I'll come to in a second. But we're not living in a world that is giving us very much space to be able to process things. And in some of the stuff we've been looking at this week, and I've been putting out, we've been talking about the car analogy, going to the petrol station, putting the petrol in the car. You wouldn't keep putting the petrol in the car. You'd know it had hit a point where it was full, and then you would go drive the car until you needed to come back and fill it again. But we consume so much information that actually it's like there's unprocessed stuff within us.
Can I clarify?
Yeah.
So in terms of the orchestra, the spotlight, watching the violins play or the cello play or whatever it is like that we're focusing on at the time, that's me doing a task. So writing an email, specifically focusing on the washing up, like something like that. Probably not the washing up actually, because that would probably be the other one. But it's like where I have to consciously make an effort to focus on something. And what you're saying is that, so for example, would me doom scrolling be a spotlight on that?
So because you're consuming.
Right. So because that's what I was trying to clarify. So I'm doing that.
Yeah.
So what we're saying is the bit where we take the spotlight off and the whole orchestra gets to play and your brain gets to ruminate and play and do all of the things it needs to do. Those are the things where it's like offline, but not offline. Give me some examples, because I said washing up earlier and then I was like, actually washing up is probably a really good one because I can do it without thinking about it. My brain is probably off doing all of the processing things it needs to do.
Yeah.
So this always makes me think of Einstein. I just wanted to specifically make sure that people listening knew that the spotlight includes things like watching TV, being focused on your phone, like consuming things constantly. And actually the bit where it's off is where you're not doing that, because Einstein was talking about getting a menial job.
Yeah.
So he went and I think he became a waiter or something. And it was there that he'd done all of this work, all of this hyper focus on the theory of relativity, but he couldn't figure it out. There was a piece missing, and he couldn't click it. So he went and did a different job, and I can't remember what he did. I don't know if it was waiter or something like that, but he went and did something else. And in the process of those menial tasks where he wasn't hyper focused on it anymore, the pieces clicked into place.
Yes.
And he figured it out.
That's it.
And what we're saying is we're not giving ourselves enough time for all of this stuff that we're processing to click into place, to figure out, to do. Is that what you're...
That's exactly what I'm saying. There's also another bit though, because it depends on how safe you feel in your body as to which way the default mode network goes. So it's like it's got two pathways that it can choose from. If you feel unsafe, right? So let's say that there's a lot of stuff going on around you, or you're telling yourself that, you're not good enough, you're not clever enough in this situation, or maybe you're worried about money, or you're worried about what's happening at home. Your brain, it takes, my understanding is it takes the route of, goes down on safety, and now, because we do have these moments where we think, so you might be doing that, the watching the Netflix, but your brain's whirring and you're spiraling, so you're watching Netflix and you're trying to focus on it, but sometimes we kind of zone out, don't we? And what's happening is you've got this thinking going on in the back of your head. So that is the default mode network. But because you don't feel safe, because maybe you're just not feeling good and things are happening around you and you've not got a sense of like, it's all right, I'm back in the present moment. You're flicking between the past and the future, all of that's happening. You ruminate. That's what happens. Worry and anxiety happens. So instead of being able to make meaning of it, you just stay stuck. So the actual key to it is how safe you feel in your body and how okay you feel. Because if you feel safe, you will go do the meaning making.
Yes. So one of the questions that came up for me actually when you were talking a bit earlier that I wanted to go back to you about that is, if I was someone, because for me, I don't always know what things like that mean. When someone says to me, like, oh, do you feel safe? I'm like, I don't know. Like, what do you mean? Like, yeah, I'm sat on my sofa in my house. I know I'm not going to get a meteor hit me. Like, what do you mean? Right? But logistically, that's not what we're talking about. Can you give us an example for somebody to understand that?
I can get, right. I'm going to use the example that I did with the group about journaling.
Okay.
Right. I don't know if any of the people who are listening to us have ever thought that they wanted to go and journal. Yeah. So do you like journaling?
Are you asking me this question?
Yes. So I'm going to ask you it now.
Okay.
Do you like journaling?
Yes.
So I don't. I do journal, but I don't always.
You journal way more than me.
I do morning pages and I have journaled, but one of the things that I had to get good at was not censoring myself. And this is where this is where the safety bit comes in, right? Because when you think about, so I asked the question last night at this group and somebody went, no, I hate it. And I went, what do you hate about it? She went, the minute I start to write, I go, oh, you're boring. That's what I mean about feeling safe. Right, if I think that I'm not good enough or I'm not clever enough or I'm not any of those things, I'm gonna have a reaction. So I'll start to write and I suddenly don't feel safe. So because in my head I'm like, I'm writing and I'm thinking, oh my God, other people get profound moments from this. So there's like a commentary going in the back of my head, can you see? So I'm trying to make meaning of it, but actually I'm not, because I'm telling myself that I'm just not good enough, I'm not clever enough, I don't write well enough.
So the journaling's actually not going to work anyway because you're too busy ruminating.
Yeah. Like, what's the point of doing this? Why are you doing it? So the safety is about actually can happen within us. It's not just about what happens outside. It's the inner critic.
So can I give an example that I've realised that, right? Something that I do a lot. So obviously we've spoken on the podcast before. People know that I have a lot of issues around food. And one of the things that I'll do is I won't eat all day. And then I'll hit a point on an afternoon where I'm fucking starving. And and people are like, oh, fasting. And I'm like, I fast by accident all the fucking time. Leave me alone. Anyway, not the point. Point is, I go to make dinner. And if I haven't planned it out, so I'm going into the kitchen and I'm trying to think what's going on. And my brain's now going, like, I know I want to make this healthy meal, but I don't want to make this healthy meal because it's annoying me and I know I don't like the taste of that healthy meal. But if I don't make that healthy meal, then I'm going to get fat. But I shouldn't be thinking about if I'm going to get fat because I'm supposed to be body positive. But if I'm body positive, then I would be thinking this. And then it's like, and this simple thing that logistically, if I just wasn't in that space, I'd just go in and go, what's in the cupboards? What could I make? These are my options. Which option do I want?
There's a lack of safety
but
for
there's
food.
Not. So that, but I don't think that I would ever have called that lack of safety with food. Like, I don't know how I would have described it to someone. Do you know what I mean? Like if somebody came, and I don't have that anywhere near as much anymore because we've been doing this work. But I don't think I ever would have said to someone, I used to feel unsafe with food and now I feel safe. I think I might have been like, God, yeah, I just never could, like, I had so much anxiety. Like, I just get into this massive spiral of not knowing what to do. And now I don't. Like, do you know what I mean? And I just think there's a lot of people we don't use specific words in our heads. So then when people talk about these things, we don't associate them with ourselves. Because if you were like, oh, well, you know, this is what happens when you don't feel safe, I don't think my brain would have automatically
no. That's why it's good to talk about it.
That as me.
Because I definitely think this is so important. So just to read it to you, just to make sure that I've got it. So if we think about, and then I'm going to talk about something that we're doing in Unlocking, which is helping with this, and that is actually having a big impact, is that, so that it's what it says here. So I made some notes of this. The default mode network, that's what activates when you stop trying. So when you stop trying, yeah.
So the washing up was a good example, because I'm just
you're not really trying.
Habitually going on it.
Yeah, it's not really anything. You know, you go for a walk, you sit and just stare at the clouds. You know, I don't know if any of our listeners, I remember being called a daydreamer. I'm a Piscean anyway, you know, so I know that whole thing about looking out the window, you know, that daydreaming, that is part of who I am. I know it is. It's also, I really do enjoy it. And a lot of people either don't, or society doesn't really tell us, it doesn't value it. Because our worth is being seen as in our productivity. It's in what we produce, what we do, what the outcomes are, all of those.
I'm not really a daydreamer.
Yeah, right. So it's
and not I think just my brain just doesn't work.
It doesn't do it in that way.
Yeah, which I don't like.
I reckon you do it sometimes in different ways, and I think that's the part, isn't it? So when you think about this, the real safety piece is where creativity happens, so your default mode network, where you make sense of your life, where connection gets made, it only works when you feel psychologically safe. When there's no performance pressure, no judgment, no getting it right. Because in high stress or when you feel unsafe, the same network doesn't wander creatively. It ruminates, it worries, it spirals.
The difference between singing alone in your car and getting on stage and singing in front of
everybody else. So, and just the words again, when there's no performance pressure, you think about all of the... Right, I'm going to use one. Yoga. I love yoga. It's one of the things, and I've talked about it like before, and people are like, "Oh yeah, you can do yoga." I walk into a yoga studio, and the fear of what my body looks like in yoga poses, and I know it's something to work on, but I know it now. I can see that's what happened to me. This fear.
So now you don't go.
Squeezy Louisa. We'll tell you what Squeezy Louisa is in just a moment, but actually, this is something I'm realizing for myself.
Yeah.
Is happening for me. This is what I do to keep myself safe. Go small. Squeeze everything in, and it's a feeling and sensation I get in my diaphragm and in my rib area. Squeeze it in. Make it small. Don't breathe hard. Don't breathe a lot at all. Be very quiet. Be very still. There's my freeze. So it's like that. That's what happens for me. Squeezy Louisa. But this whole thing is why it matters, you know, because you think of the society that we live in, and I am as guilty as everybody else. I'm putting my hand up now because I've got an Uber on. You know, I'm beginning to notice that, you know, that when I feel okay, in other areas of my life, I'm not so focused on what's the performance and the results that I'm getting from this. Because I got this because I wasn't sleeping well and I wanted to see what was happening with the pattern. And most of the time that works. But you know what? When I'm just not in a great place, when I'm actually quite activated and feeling a bit psychologically unsafe in other areas, then I'm constantly looking and thinking, am I doing it right? How many steps have I taken? And I start doing it for that rather than doing it because actually I enjoy walking. Everything becomes about performance.
So you were saying that you had some examples of things that we were doing in Unlocking to help people come away from this.
Yes.
Tell us more about that.
Because so the thing that we were chatting about last night when I'd asked everybody.
I wasn't on last night because my little boy was just in time.
You'd had a day as well, love.
And I had a day. So I came on and then just never joined. So I'm learning this at the same time.
So last night we were talking about morning pages. And morning pages, the beauty of them is, so imagine the difference between journaling where you've got in your head, I need to write something profound. I need to write this. For me, and this came out last night, somebody went, I don't like journaling because the minute that I get something wrong on the page or I write a wrong word or my grammar's wrong or I spell wrong, I want to rip it out. And then we started laughing because someone went, that thing. Because I went, did anybody ever want to rip it out or get a new exercise book? And they were like, yeah. But then I hated it when you rip your page out and you've got all of those like bits of the paper left over and it's like, like you can see it doesn't look perfect. It's not good enough. Nobody's going to accept that. Can you see? So it's that. So I said, tell me about morning pages. What's the difference? And it went quiet. And then somebody went, well, nobody sees it. Nobody sees it. I don't even have to see it. I don't have to read it back. Actually, the other day I noticed I wrote a word wrong. I spelled it wrong. I didn't care. I just scrubbed it out and wrote another word. And I started to laugh because I'm like, yeah, I'm noticing that too. Don't matter. Doesn't matter if I swear. Doesn't matter what I put in. Doesn't matter what's in there at all. In fact, it doesn't matter because it's just getting it out of my head. It's uncensored. It doesn't need to be a certain way or look a certain way or be anything. And I said, what are you noticing is the impact of that? And one person went, I've noticed I get angry about things. And I've not ever been somebody that would have said I was an angry person. But I think I am. And I was like, what do you find you're noticing about that? Well, it's merely making me think about what matters. Right. So we start talking. But the bigger thing is because there's nothing kind of making you having to do it, like it's a safe place for you to be able to just express who you are. Yeah. So that's why I feel like they're so impactful. So then you think about going on the solo walk, right? So the whole idea about going on a walk twice a week, 20 minutes, no distractions, no phones, no people, no dogs, nobody, no counting how many steps you do. Because that's the idea. It's like, there's no performance. I'm not walking because I have to get somewhere. I'm not walking because it's filling the steps on my phone or, whatever else it is that I used to do it for. I'm just walking to see. Yesterday, I've lived on the street that I live on for 8 years. More. I noticed things yesterday I've not seen. I genuinely have not seen. One of the things I love about Nottingham and where I live is that there are little alleyways and streets and hidden houses and, things to explore. I walked past this one gate and I was like, I didn't even know that gate existed. I didn't know that a house far down from us is called Marchington. I was like, that looks like Bridgerton. And I was like, so I was romanticising this name of this house, which I know is all flats like ours, but I was like, oh, Marchington. And then I went down the road along, came back up a road that, is parallel to ours, but out the back. I saw our house, not just the flat, but the house from a different perspective. I've never seen the turret looking the way that it does. I then was like, I've never walked up this road. I'm going to go walk up this road. So I did. And I was like, oh, I always thought this road was much bigger than when I've seen it before, but it's really little and black. And I was like, but it's that. There were no distractions and my mind started to wander. I was like, I need to do this more often. And that's exactly what was being shared from everybody else. There's no pressure. We do something called an artist date. Switch that for please yourself time. I think this is one of the ones that's been the most liberating already. We are 3 weeks in and people are already like, the difference like this is making. And it's that, because that time, one person described how they want to go to a particular place. And generally they go because they have to, because there's things they need to buy or there's people they need to take to show. This is about them. This is about them. And the difference that's making, the things that they're seeing, the way that they feel, noticing just how much softer their body feels, not always braced and ready for other things. And now what's happening in the group is how protective people are getting of that time. Because actually they're not used to putting themselves first. They're not used to carving out time for themselves. And those things that we've been doing, and one of them is, the whole bit about guidance and, just allowing yourself to ask a question and then see what comes. Again, the safety in that, because, somebody was talking last night about how they realise they over-rely on everybody else's opinion and not their own. How often do we trust ourselves? We've learnt not to, and to listen. This week, for me, the whole week, I wrote one affirmation. So I know that affirmations, I know they don't work if you don't believe in them, if you are not emotionally connected to that affirmation. But that's the beauty of doing what we're doing, because the idea is read the affirmation and notice what comes up for you. Again, no perfection, no performance. It doesn't need to be right. You don't need to believe it. Just notice. And that's been the biggest thing for me. So the affirmation for me, my heart listens to the quiet voice within me. The first time I wrote it down, the next thing I wrote was, no, it doesn't. No, it doesn't, because there's other voices louder. It's not listening to the quiet voice. By the end of the week, and what I wrote this morning, yeah, it does. Now I hear it. But it's that. It's this. We don't feel safe because everything feels like it's measured. Everything feels like an outcome. There isn't a lot of space in our lives that don't feel like we're just doing them for pleasure. And there'll be people, maybe you are artists who pay, you do, but you've also talked, haven't you, about how you feel this pressure sometimes. So I think it just felt really important to share, because.
So it's like, just in terms of, if for someone listening, it's like, it sounds like the thing all of them have in common is specifically carving out time. It doesn't have to be a lot, but where there's no outcome to what you're doing. You're not doing it for anybody but yourself. You're not doing it for a measure, for a track, for anything. It's just something that you do for the sake of doing it. That's the thing that you're saying, is to practice getting into this default mode network
in a safe way, in a safe container. That means that actually it has the ability to then start supporting you in the way it was designed to, which is to make meaning out of things.
Letting you figure it all out, click into place.
For me, I mean, can I use an example from us? We've been working together online, haven't we, all week? And I know that in my morning pages, I definitely went into it actually, let me just rephrase that. Having done the writing that I've done before, I do know that I allow myself just to say what I want to say. There is, though, a sensor in the back of my head that goes, this is really down, this is really miserable, it needs to be positive, and I've noticed that. So what I've done is I've not let that happen this time. I've just let it be whatever it is that needs to come out of me. I love this idea of ventilating. And 2 days ago, I wrote something. I can feel myself, I can feel it, because it's like this is a little protected part of me at the minute. But I felt a little part of me that went, I really like writing. But I've always said I'm not a writer. I've always said I'm more of a talker. But I love writing. Oh, that came out. I love writing. I love words. I love how, because I love reading. I love how words can change what I'm feeling. I love how words create a story in my head. And I've always wanted to do that. And I think that's something from this, that you begin to notice what's there, this quieter voice, this part of you that knows what needs to happen and what you need to do. And yet, I think because we don't feel safe, that's where we start to rely on everybody else. And that's, for me, it matters. And safety can come from a number of things. People talk about grounding practices, hand on heart, just kind of sitting with yourself, noticing your breath, not having to change it, because deep breathing doesn't work for everybody. But just noticing what's happening for you. The whole notice 5 things around you that you can see, 4 that you can hear, 3, and so on. It's things like that. Notice how you're talking to yourself. Being able to bring it back. And the other day, we were sat together, and I've wanted to write a blog for ages, and I've got out of the habit, and I thought I'm going to write one. And I could feel that I didn't. Actually, we were writing emails, weren't we? I didn't feel Like I was good, and I think I said that to you. I'm just not good at this. And you were brilliant because you created that safe space for me. And what happened was I did write it.
Mm.
And I started to write it. And what happened was, as I was writing it, because I felt safe, you weren't judging me, you were just allowing me to kind of let that out. Then I started to think of other things. Then I started to see connections. Songs popped in my head, little stories. And I was like, oh, what is going on? That was my default mode network in play.
Mm-hmm.
I felt safe. I let it wander. It got creative. And I think that's the thing. It's, I'm not saying that at the end of this I'd be a writer. I'm not saying that, any of us will do, but who knows?
Mm.
Who knows what's within me and what wants to come out?
Mm.
I don't know. How does all of this sit with you and what's going through your head today?
Not a lot, to be honest. I just really wanted to make sure that people who were listening could apply it. I think that's the thing, that it's like, we're not just talking about this because it's like, oh, this is just this thing. It's like, no, there's ways that you can go and do them in your own space and time. And
yeah, because I think that's the part, isn't it? Even just noticing.
Mm.
How often are you doing something and it's got to have an end result, or there is a metric, like you said, that you're using to measure.
I definitely think a lot of people don't even realise how much they do that. I think that, like, life at the minute, have you done enough steps? Have you burned enough calories? Have you done this? Have you done that? Have you drank enough glasses of water? So it's like everything's done for just some sort of outcome. And it's like, rather than just, well, I just drink water because I need to drink water, you do lose the trust in yourself.
And the lack of safety is that, it used to be a lion, used to be a tiger, used to be a bear, because we lived in places where that would have happened, lack of food, all of that kind of stuff, which for some people is still really a truth. And now, though, it's been replaced by all of these things that we feel we need to be. So I think that's a big thing for me, where when we talk about our self-worth, it's realising we don't need to be better to be worthy. It's not an external thing. It's not what we become. It's actually just, it exists as it is. Yeah. We're already worth, everything, because we are a human being and we're alive. It's what we know. For me, this is the shedding the layers, realising what things matter, what things don't.
Lush. What a lush conversation. I love that you prepped. I did not prep.
No, today I think it was maybe not even prepping. It felt important with that, most definitely.
Oh, well, thank you for joining us on Friday the 13th. I think we got through that pretty well, bearing in mind how we started. Yeah. Don't forget to hit follow.
Yeah.
Don't forget to talk to us if you've got anything you want to talk about.
Yeah, and somebody asked me that about how do we get in touch. Direct messages on Instagram. You
comment on the podcast.
Yeah, comment on the podcast and we'll see it. There's a way to do that. You can email us. All of the links are at the bottom, aren't they, of the show notes. So people can see that. You could find us multiple ways. We do love. Yeah. Please let us know your thoughts. Does any of it resonate? We really do love to hear.
We do. We shall speak next week.
You take care. Bye.
Bye.